Um,
Wow.
This piece here, I produced for the charity Mind, and you had to create something with the title Hope. So my idea was that we're in London, so we have an overview. You can see Tower Bridge, you've got the City of London, you've got London Bridge and so forth. And my idea was that all of these balloons were carrying little bottles, and in the bottles were messages of hope, of positivity and will and encouragement, and they were going to land exactly where they needed to land. So if somebody was going through something, then it would land upon their doorstep and they could read it.
My guest today is Emily Dell, a London Blue Badge tourist guide, sketch artist, illustrator, and award winning entrepreneur. Emily has been guiding for over 17 years, with 5 of those as a Blue Badge guide, bringing energy, humor, and deep knowledge to every tour. Alongside that, she has built a unique career as an artist, from winning the Princess Trust Entrepreneurial Award to selling her work at Portobello Market to creating signature pieces like Girl on Swing and balloon artwork. Through her project Sketch History Tours, Emily combines her passion for storytelling and sketching, uncovering London's hidden gems while turning them into living works of art. Today, we'll talk about her journey, her creative process, and why sketching reveals something about a city that no photograph ever could. Emily, welcome to the show. Thank you for agreeing to do this podcast with me. And I'll straight away jump to my first question, which is, so you're both a blue badge tourist guide and a sketch artist. Which part of that identity do you usually lead with when people ask what you do?
Goodness me. Well, firstly, Akanksha, thanks very much for the lovely introduction. I do appreciate that. So I think probably in terms, I would say I lead with being a Blue Badge guide, because so much of what I do as a guide influences me as an artist now. So I lead with that probably in terms of how many hours I put into guiding, then I put into sketching. So if you looked at it on a week by week basis, that is what I would lead by. But I think what I'm trying to do is try to make these two activities in my life 50-50, so that I can completely blend and combine both at the same time.
Can you take us back to your earliest sketches, the moment you realized that this is more than just a hobby?
Yeah, so I think, to be honest, I've always really enjoyed sketching and drawing. My dad used to be a draftsman, so I'd always be looking over his shoulder, and he'd have his ruler and so many different pencils and pens with different nibs that just seemed really exciting to look at. But of course, he never let me touch them because they were quite expensive. And then my sister, she was really fond of art, and I would kind of create these little miniature worlds, these dolls' houses, where I would have lots of little individual rooms and get quite angry if I didn't get the angle right and the window. And, this is kind of around, I'd say 11, 12 years old. And I'd scrunch them all up and just throw them all away. So I think from a very young age, I've always wanted to put pen to paper. And I think now I'm more looking at something and sketching what I'm actually visibly looking at. But I think in my earlier years, I was being conducted more so by my imagination. Um, so yeah, it kind of, I think, has always been in me.
So, my next question is, winning the Princess Trust Entrepreneurial Award is such a big milestone. How did it shape your journey as an artist and entrepreneur?
Do you know what? It gave me so much confidence that I really needed, because I just needed a bit of oomph, really. Somebody kind of, telling me that actually you're okay at this. And we had, before we had to essentially show what we could sell, because it was all about having a stall in Portobello Market, and you were going to get 6 months for free. You didn't have to pay for your table, your store space, and you were going to be able to sell whatever you wanted. So there was a lot of us kind of selling or wanting to sell different things, from artwork to fashion, food. And we had 2 weeks of meeting people like Kath Kitson, startup person for Pret, and heard about their journey and their entrepreneurship and branding and how they kind of stitched everything together. And I think those 2 weeks for me were really pivotal because I was just listening to these really inspirational people and also just being surrounded by lots of people like me who wanted a bit of a different career path, maybe, something where they could possibly, be a sole trader and sell what they're creating. So yes, when I won it, I think it really was quite an important moment for me because it made me really have confidence in what I was doing and producing.
Of course, I'm sure it kind of stamps, like you mentioned, that you really needed that for your confidence that I have got this.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And just being on Portobello Road where people are naturally just selling their wares, some of
Yeah,
which have been there for kind of like 16 years. And it was just so much fun. It really was. It was
yeah,
great.
yeah. Your signature pieces, such as Hope and balloon artwork, have such charm. Could you share the stories behind it?
Yes, absolutely. So my hope pictures, and I'll just show you just to give you a kind of a visual.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
this piece here I produced for the charity Mind, and you had to create something with the title Hope. So my idea was that we're in London. So we have an overview. You can see Tower Bridge, you've got the City of London, you've got London Bridge and so forth. And my idea was that all of these balloons were carrying little bottles, and in the bottles were messages of hope, of positivity, and will and encouragement. And they were going to land exactly where they needed to land. So if somebody was going through something, then it would land upon their doorstep and they could read it. Um, so I did that. And then I kind of left the idea alone. And then during the pandemic, I wanted to bring this up again because there was no guiding, just like all of us, we were kind of stopped still. And I thought, right, this is my opportunity to get sketching,
Yeah,
sketching going again. I've got time on my hands. So I thought these messages are so important right now in terms of the pandemic. So
yeah,
it was still these messages of hope.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, so now I'm produced. I've got a couple on the go at the moment. So these aren't complete, but somebody has asked me for the area of Crouch End. And
Okay.
this is in North London, the clock tower. And I've asked, what colour balloons would you like? So she's gone for green. And
Green.
right in the middle, there is a little two people with a dog.
Yeah, yeah,
It's her and her husband with their dog Bacon. And so attached to that, I'll put the balloons and then actually write a little message
yeah,
and put it within the bottle.
yeah, 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 yeah. Wow. Those were such beautiful artworks.
Thank you.
Can I ask you something? How did you come up with the idea? Like, I have to draw this sketch where I have to basically write a message in those bottles.
So I was already sketching London. So I was constantly looking aerial view of London on my laptop. So the view that I chose for that particular painting or picture that I showed you, I had been kind of creating that. And I think when I thought of hope, it kind of spread out to so many people. So there was this feeling that doesn't really exist. There's nothing kind of tangible, but it's such a strong thing to have. Hope can really mean everything to you. So I thought if that feeling actually was tangible and was something that could present itself to you, such as a message within a bottle, where of course, if you're shipwrecked and you are trying to reach out to somebody and you have this idea that it's not sailing but flying over London. I did toy with putting messages in the Thames, but the Thames is such a smelly old dark place that I thought, no, I don't want to do that.
So those are really very, very beautiful artworks. And
Thank you.
when you begin a new sketch, what does your process look like? from that first pencil line to the finished illustration?
So, in terms of what I'm doing at the moment, there's a lot of conversations back and forth between the person that I'm producing something for. So, for instance, recently it was somebody's anniversary coming up of their engagement, and he wanted a picture of the bench in the Cotswolds that he was sat on when he proposed to her. So this was in a little town called Byberry, and he sent me a photograph. And there's a lot of conversations that go on in terms of the details that make it unique and bespoke for that person. So, for instance, do you want any color? If you do, where does it need to fall? So we had a sunbeam, the only color coming through the sunbeam hitting the chair where he proposed. So it was like the focus. Um, and then how much detail? Because of course, I've got something like this, which is of a gallery near Bloomsbury, and
Wow.
this person wanted this kind of gallery that lives here, and that it is quite detailed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the process is, how much of that do you want? So before I start, I really kind of make sure that we're on the right page, and
Okay.
sometimes I get it wrong. Sometimes I'll put a loose sketch up and I'll send it,
Yeah.
and we're not hitting the right platform. So lots of conversation, and then I go to Google Earth, my best friend,
Yeah.
and on my laptop I go to the area, and you can kind of twist it and turn it and come in and just try to get the right angle, and then send that, of course, over to the person and say, look, this is the angle I'm thinking of, is just right for you. And then, whilst I'm looking at the picture on my laptop, I'm then looking at my paper with my pencil. First of all, I'm doing all the outlines, and then I just go straight in with the black biro, and then it just
Yeah.
builds and builds from there.
Wow. Wow. So when the idea is not clear, when the concept is not clear, so and basically the back and forth is happening with the client, then you use Google Maps, your best friend, especially when it comes to location based art. And then basically you kind of consult with them that, okay, this is the location that you're looking for, or you would want in the sketch.
Exactly, because I guess for this art gallery, for instance, she was quite specific that she wanted to, if you can see it, but there's this crane kind of just about there. And
Yes.
there's these kind of windows that when you're on the top floor of the gallery, you look up and you can see these slanted windows. And that was she said, I need that. So in terms of your angle, I must see that, because this is my favorite thing about the gallery, the light that comes
Yeah.
through. Yeah. So yeah, yeah.
So I don't, yeah, I think even the client who is requesting for such artworks, they are also very detailed oriented, because if somebody like me, like non-illustrator or non-sketch artist, I would never think
Just be like, oh, just whatever side.
whatever
Take
you
your
feel
pick.
is right. Yeah. Whatever looks good to you.
Yeah. And so, well, some people are kind of, if it's a gift and it's not for
Yeah.
them, I think then they're a bit more kind of like, oh, yeah, just do what you think, because
Yeah.
there's for somebody else maybe. But when it's for them in particular, then it's a bit
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
So my next question is: you have sold art at Portobello Market and
Yes.
taken on personal commissions. What's the most memorable or unusual story from those experiences? From those
Oh,
experiences, sorry.
so, gosh, there's quite a few, because if you know Notting Hill and Portobello,
Yeah.
the characters that come down, you think, oh, yes, Sheila's in a big furry jacket. She's coming. I know she's going to come and talk to me. And so I remember one time, because I would sit there with my paper and pens, so I would sketch and I would do little cards. And one woman, she'd never met me before, and she didn't know, if I was trustworthy. Anyway, she said, I'd like you to sketch my dog. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. And she said, but I'm only going to be here for the day, because I'm staying with my friend and I'm leaving later. I've got to do a bit of shopping. So I'm going to leave her here. Yeah. And I think she was called maybe Sally or Sylvie. It began with an S. And I was like, oh, to be honest, I'm not really an animal person.
Yeah.
Feel quite, and I was, just trying to excuse myself because I just didn't feel comfortable. And
Yeah.
before I knew it, she's tying Sally, let's call her, around the chair. And she's like, I'll be back in about an hour and a half. Do you think you could do it by then? And I was like, okay. So I've got this dog who doesn't know me at all. And luckily, she was a very docile dog.
Yeah.
And she just sat there and I just sketched her. And
Yeah.
then I gave her like a couple of biscuits I had with a cup of tea. But that was quite peculiar. I think like this idea that maybe this person's sketching that she can be quite trustworthy because I could have just taken the dog. I mean, obviously I wouldn't.
Yeah.
So that was quite peculiar. And I think just selling art and knowing that they're for tourists that are going to be taking those pieces back home to China or something like that. That was a very special feeling to think my pieces are flying now.
Yeah, yeah, they are going places.
Yes, they're in suitcases next to the first class lounge, you know.
Yeah. So sketches seem to capture something that photos can't. What do you think makes them so powerful as a medium?
I think it's the detail really. Like I think to look at it is one thing, but I think to sketch it yourself, I think you can understand a building in a different way. So when I'm on my sketch history tours and we'll go around on a guided walk and we'll stop and we'll look at a building, you know, you can take it in, but 9 times out of 10, they'll forget it. They'll forget the details. They'll forget the shape of the windows. They'll forget all the pillars and all of the symbolism on a building is so important. But if you sit and you sketch it and then you take that picture home, you've got a layer of, oh, I remember this building, I remember the history, and I was captured by the shape of that, which is why I sketched that. So then
Yeah.
you have your personal connection and that creative level.
Yeah.
So I think it allows you to look at a building longer and whatever it is longer if you have the picture in front of you.
Yeah. So, yeah, and when you are looking at it longer, I'm just paraphrasing what you said, you are being able to spot things that photographs can't,
Yes,
or
I
the
think
details.
yes. I think if you're in terms of you sketching it, for
Yeah.
sure. You know, if you're maybe noticing the shape of something or maybe a statue of a cherub that is in one of the niches. And if you just took a photo, your eyes maybe would just look at the whole thing
Yeah. Yeah.
and you would kind of just look at it like a bunch of big shapes.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've got a picture, if you haven't drawn it, maybe you're thinking, I wonder why the artist has chosen to sketch that. That must be really important to the history of the building.
Do you have one sketch that stands out as your favorite? And why does it mean so much to you?
Gosh, that's a big question. I think um I think it probably is this. I know I've shown it, but I think it is probably this because this is where it all kind of began for me. Um, and I think London and Tower Bridge in particular, I'm over here working near the Tower of London and around this area so often
Yay.
that it's such a special part of London and dear to me. And I think having this picture is a reminder that when I kind of went in for the charity, and I never ever thought that I would win. I really, really didn't. And when I got that letter back, you know, it was a bit like the Princess Trust, just such a, it just changed my mind frame. You know, you only need one little bit of encouragement or, you know, just something to just absolutely turn you on a pathway where you go, oh no, I'm really marching on this pathway. I'm not tentatively kind of just tiptoeing. Like I can now really,
Yeah.
really go for it. So
Yes.
yeah, I think probably my hope picture.
And that's a very detailed artwork. So, and one can tell that you have put a lot of hard work into it. I mean, because of the detailing. So that's not, yeah, that must have taken a lot of time to create.
Yes, it does. But I think I'm much speedier now. So, for instance, this one here took me 1 hour and a half, I would say. So, from the moment that I put pencil and then I put pen on top. So, about an hour and a half. So, I think it depends what it is, because it might seem more detailed than actually it is, in terms of how many windows there are. I'm not
Yeah,
drawing curtains and that many people. So I think I am able to be quite speedy now with it.
yeah, 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 of course. How did the idea of sketch history tours come about, and how do you blend guiding with live sketching? Because that is something I have never heard of.
That's good to know. It's always good to have like a little niche. So I mean, as you know, I've always kind of like, been sketching. It's been my hobby. When I became a guide, as you said, about 17 years ago, on my breaks, I would sketch the buildings. And when I was learning about something, it helped me to take on the history and remember, because I guess memory is quite visual. So if I knew that I had to talk about a particular building or a moment in history on the next tour, I'd remember that yesterday, what was I drawing? And so then in my brain, I would see that little picture. So I think these two kind of started to link from the get go.
Yeah.
However, it was only when I received my blue badge, which is accreditation that you receive after a 2-year training process and passing exams and so forth. And once you receive this badge, it enables you to be part of a tourist guide guild. So they kind of look after the way you're kind of treated as a guide. I would say kind of in certain venues like Westminster Abbey, British Museum, you learn about the laws and regulations in terms of the financial aid and things connected to it. It does help. So they always kept telling me on the course, if you're going to create your own tours and you're going to create your own walking tours,
Yeah.
try and do something that other people aren't doing and try and put something together. So I have friends that do food tours. I have friends that guide people around Soho, LGTB,
Yeah.
kind of fashion. And I thought, right, sketching, it's got to be sketching, So, yeah, so it started like that, really. And now I kind of take people on tours and I have all of their pieces of paper and everything they need. And we talk about what we're looking at. So it's all about sight, speech, and then sketch.
Of course, why not to bring in your other passion into it? Just combine them together. It's a great strategy. So I'll move on to my next question, which is, so the entrepreneurial side of your work, such as selling art, running tours, maintaining an online gallery slash blog, what's been the biggest learning curve for you?
My biggest learning curve is just time management, and it is a working process. I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and they obviously come first, and then all around that is the timing for working, being able to pay the bills, and then actually having time in the evening when I'm not absolutely shattered to actually pick up my pen, because I will only do that if my heart and my mind is in it. I won't sketch if I'm too tired, because I'll look at it the next morning, I will rip it up. Um, so yeah, my biggest thing is, and it's, as I say, I'm still trying to work out the best way to do things, is time management and prioritizing what
Yeah.
needs to be done. If somebody is waiting for something, that has to take priority. If you've said this needs to be delivered by this date, that has to take priority.
Yeah.
Obviously, the kids getting fed and that and bathed and stuff, that's obviously a priority, but yeah.
Of course, but time management, especially someone like you who is juggling being a mother of two kids and then tour guide and then artwork. Of course, you're by the evening. I mean, you just get tired, so you have to make sure that whenever you are basically sitting to do your work, especially the artwork, that you're mentally fresh and not tired. And I'm sure it must be hard for you to basically juggle all those things.
It is. It really is. But, everyone's juggling these days, right? It's just, I don't know anybody that's not juggling.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just, you're all in it together.
Yeah.
And you do find those moments when you have actually completed a lot in one week and you go, wow, gosh, but don't think this is going to be the same, because next week is going to be terrible and you're not going to make your margins and achieve everything. I think if you do manage to get those weeks or get those days where you can say to yourself, I actually did really well today, even if you don't hear yourself say it that often, then you're doing okay.
Yeah. Yeah. True, true. My next question is, do you prefer sketching quickly on location or refining pieces later?
I think refining pieces later. I've got my sketchbook with me. So I thought I'm so done with scrolling through my phone on my break. I have got to just pick up my pen. So, but I'm never happy. I'm never really happy with them. So I was on a boat cruise and I was with a family, and they have a tour guide on the boat, which is why I wasn't ignoring them. But I thought, well, there's another guide doing this job, so I'll just sit back. And I just started sketching the back of
Oh,
people's
wow.
heads that were in front of me on the boat cruise on the River Thames. So I
Yeah.
was, thank you. I'm never really happy with a quick sketch. So
Yeah.
I think I much prefer to kind of sit, refine it, do the shading, do the edges, and
Yeah.
just take a bit more time.
Yeah. Just making sure that it looks perfect.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was about your work as sketch artist and illustrator. Now we'll move towards your other profession, which is guiding, other work, which is guiding. So my next question is, what first drew you to guiding and how did you eventually become a blue badge guide?
So I was looking for a job that just gave me money. I wasn't actually 17 years ago. I was like, I just need a job. And I found out there was a job going on the open top buses in London that took you around on these tours. And I thought, it says that they train you. Now, I love the history of London, but I don't really know too much. And it said, we're going to train you for 2 weeks. You get paid in the training. You'll have an exam afterwards on the microphone. If you get it, you get it. If not, we still pay you. And I was like, right. So I had these 2 weeks. It was just so much fun. We were on this open top bus with this trainer called Bob, who always wanted to go to the pub at every single moment and opportunity. And he was just delivering the history of London, and we had to retain it, make it our own, so not copy it, no verbatim, it has to be your own personality. And I remember on the exam day, they called me up and said, Emily, it's now your turn to the microphone. And I stalled. I was so nervous. It meant so much to me to pass. And I just didn't talk. Luckily, they gave 2 more chances and I did start to talk. So I think actually I got in with the skin of my teeth. But then once I was doing it full time, I thought
Yeah.
this is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
So I moved from open top buses to then tours going out of London to Bath, Windsor Castle, Stonehenge, Salisbury, Canterbury, Cambridge. So
Yeah.
suddenly there was a lot of history, a lot of learning.
Yeah.
Did Paris for a little while. And then I started seeing people with these kind of little blue shiny badges. And a lot of them would kind of be a bit funny with me.
Yeah.
Um, because I didn't have this badge. There's a bit of this kind of, I don't think it's
Yeah.
necessary at all, but there's a bit of a rivalry between badges and
Yeah.
non-badges. It's so silly.
Yeah.
But anyway, they said, look, if you do this course, it's going to be 2 years. Then, you just do a lot better financially. You have the security and you just get so many more jobs being offered to you, like really unique individual jobs. So I did the course and it was terrifying and thrilling at the same time. And there were 11 exams. So one was in the National Gallery, British Museum, Westminster Abbey, coach tour. Got through, don't know how. And then, so yeah, and so since 2018, I've been an accredited Blue Badge Guide, and I am absolutely loving it. And I never kind of get upset when I've got to go to work.
I mean, you have to love what you do, to basically carry it forward for the 17 years. Okay, so speaking of 17 years, my next question is, after 17 years of guiding, what's one story that has really stayed with you?
Um, Gosh, I think I think it would have to be actually quite recently a sketch tour that I did with a family in the National Gallery. I had three children, one was 4, one was 10, one was 12. And it was just so lovely. And they really taught me so much about the paintings and the way they saw things. And we sat and we were looking at different people in these paintings, and we were looking at people selling fruit, people on horses. And it was just so lovely to see them sketch. And their parents said that, they're always kind of energetic and running around. So they couldn't believe that they were like sat there for the whole time. And it just made me realize how much I enjoy engaging with children when it comes to guiding, because I've done families here and there, guided families around, but it's usually adults who want history, factual. And with children, you have to change the
Yeah.
way, you've got to get their attention in a different way, which is challenging, but so exciting when it does happen, and when you can tell that they are engaged. So yeah, that happened quite recently.
With children, you rather, I would say, take an imaginative route than factual and history.
Yes, definitely. So I guess you have to kind of there has to be a lot of questions. So for instance, we were looking at a painting by Titian of Bacchus and Ariadne, and it's all about this mythological story. And so you say, like, okay, we've literally just stepped into the painting. What
Yeah.
kind of temperature? So you talk about temperature, you talk about sound, and just get them to tell you what they are seeing, because their eyes will be different and
Yeah.
drawn to
Yeah.
different things.
Yeah.
It could be something really simple, like the color of somebody's top that reminds them of a top that they have in their wardrobe or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we looked at this lady who was selling fruit, and I knew I was going to take them to it. So I drew a little basket and
Yeah.
I gave all of them a basket, and I said, right, I'm going to give you some money, and you're going to step into the painting, and you are going to fill up your basket with all this amazing fruit. We've got 15 minutes on the clock. And they had all their pencils and colors in front of them that I brought. And so even though they're brothers and sisters, it was really interesting to see what they went for.
Yeah.
Some of them actually didn't go near the fruit at all. Some of them put onions in their basket. Some of them put like sweet potato. And that was great because you see their own little tastes, literal tastes come out.
Yes. What's your absolute favorite hidden gem to guide people through? And have you sketched it?
So my favorite place to guide is in the Guildhall Art Gallery, which is in the City of London. Have you been?
Okay. Yeah, no. Sorry, which art gallery?
It's called the Guildhall Art Gallery. It is completely free. Your closest station is, what would it be? St Paul's. And you go through, and then you go underground, and you come to the remains of the old Roman amphitheatre that was found a few years ago, which would have seated about 7,000 Roman spectators.
Wow.
You have hologram images of some Romans doing certain things that they would have done there 2,000 years ago. So you have all these incredible paintings within the gallery, which is amazing, but then you go underground and you see the remains. So I just think you've got 2,000 years in one space. And I'm actually in conversations with them at the moment about them being okay with me taking a group of 10 people down there to sketch, because I
Yes.
think it would just be, so atmospheric.
How do you come up with these places? What's your thought process?
So a lot of it is just reading.
Reading.
So recently I got the National Geographic, which is all about London Underground. And so it was talking about things that have been found within the River Thames through mudlarking, things that have been found through excavations. So I try to keep up on news stories that are connected to London, because they're finding new things all the time. So if something comes up, then I'll try, if I've got time, to go and wander around. And especially if there's a particular tour that's coming up, like I had Notting Hill quite recently, and I hadn't guided around there for ages. So I had to, and it was a 2-hour tour. So I had to go on a massive walk and go, right, okay, this is there, but is that interesting? Is this needed and necessary for the tour? So there's a lot of planning in terms of routes, in terms of who you're guiding and what they would find interesting. Visuals, you can talk about the history, but it has to also be quite photogenic and quite
Yeah.
lovely to look at and a bit different. So yeah, there's a lot of planning around it, but I have to physically be there. Can only read so much. I've got to be inspired by what's
Yeah.
around me.
Of course, of course. I just just have to ask you this question. So, has it ever happened that you have read about a place and you did not go there physically? You did not, check it by yourself, and you basically uh, took a few tourists with you to that location, and it just, did not turn out as great as it was looking in the pictures. Has it ever
Gosh,
happened?
there's been so many instances like that where I was doing these kind of garden tours, and I said yes to this kind of 12-day garden tour. I didn't have time to recce all these different places around England.
Yeah.
We were going through Glastonbury, and I knew the night before that we were going to be going near Glastonbury Tor, which is where, the Holy Grail is meant to be, and it's on top of this huge mound. And I knew that it was coming up, and I suddenly saw this big hill, and I was like, everybody get ready to look to your right, because what I've just been talking about, we are about to see it. It's there, look up. 5 minutes later, we come round the corner, and there is this whopping, humongous, great big hill with the Tor on top. And I'm like, and they're like, so if that was the Tor, what's that, Emily? And I was like, do you know what? I don't know. And I was like, why did I say I don't know? It's just so obvious. And the driver was looking at me like, what is she saying? So yeah, there's so many times where the driver will go a particular direction or a route that I don't know. And I have to keep on talking because they've paid
Yeah.
to hear the history, and you're going, oh, and you're trying to read the signs and go,
Yeah.
it's a church, St. Michael's coming up.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
Wow, that was hilarious. Okay, now we are moving towards our last segment of the show. So, people describe you as fun and full of energy. How do you think that comes through in both your tours and your artwork?
I find it very hard to be still. So I think energy very much in terms of
Yeah.
gestures, probably in terms of guiding, because I am
Expressive.
quite expressive. Like I'll say to myself in the morning, Emily, have a really chill day. Have a calm day. Everything's going to be very slow. And then as soon as I meet my clients, I'm like, hi, this is what we're doing today. And I'm like, oh God, I've got to exhaust myself. But I just get so excited about showing people the history. So I think that, I just can't help that energy. And
Yeah.
probably the speed of me drawing. Oh, I'm not really a kind of a slow thinker. I'm like, all right, let's quickly get
Yeah.
this done.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably that sense as well in the sketching.
My next question is, if London were a single sketch in your style, what would it look like?
If London was a single sketch, I would try and fit in as much as possible. London, I don't think there's not one part, although I say I connect with Tower Bridge and that, and, I love that
Yeah.
part of London. London is just everything and everyone and ideas and cultures bubbling all together. So I think it would just be an explosion of buildings and people and patterns, that are just, though, those kind of graphic pictures that you can see where people zoom in and you just keep on zooming. Like
Yeah.
there'd be a window and then you zoom and then there's another world. If I was able with my sketching, because I wouldn't do it on an iPad. It's just not my, I love drawing. But if I could create that in a sketch, that feeling of doof, 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 then that's what it would be.
Wow, yeah, that would be really beautiful. I think you should try working on it.
Yes.
Yes, I do. So my last question is, looking forward, what's one project or idea you are most excited about right now?
So right now, and I've got limited time, so I'm like I must do this. So I want to do sketch history Christmas tours. So I take people on a Christmas lights tour, which I do anyway. But we have our boards and our paper, and we stop somewhere like Covent Garden, where there's that big, beautiful tree in front of the market, and we just take a moment just to do a little quick sketch, just to remember the Christmas decorations and how it was, maybe kind of go over towards Mayfair, and there's something about the kind of unique decoration there. So that's what I'm working on. I'm trying to kind of get that out and on the website so I can start selling these tours.
Sounds exciting. And if our viewers, they would like to get in touch, when it comes, be it for guiding tips or for your artwork, where should they contact you? What are the
So
channels? Yeah.
yeah, if they visit my website, which is www.sketchhistorytours.com, you'll find all my information there. You'll find kind of my Instagram handles, and you'll find a way of contacting me through my email. And then on there, you'll see upcoming tours, my artwork, and commissions and things like that.
Thank you so much, Emily. Thank you for doing this and all the best for your upcoming projects. Wish you all the best and thank you so much for doing this.
No, thank you. I've loved talking to you. Thank you, Akansha.